Man, I gotta say that Ash's song is really beautiful, but am I the only one who thought that it would go perfect with the ending of Avengers Infinity War?
You are not. Yeah, it's been a big thing recently, and but you were one of the first I heard to point it out before it was put out online quite a bit. So definitely very true.
Yeah, there's this like great music video, but it's obviously like a cam one, so probably get taken down soon
Yeah, probably.
for copyright stuff. So, hi, welcome to End Credit Reviews on episode of After the Credits on End Credit Reviews. This is Tyler from End Credit Reviews.
And Stephen from Stephen Lawson Studios.
And we are here with a review on Deadpool 2. Now, a few years ago, we did review the first Deadpool movie. I'll probably have the links in the description below because back then I didn't exactly figure out how to monetize stuff, so that way I had to go with like multiple parts. So it's kind of like those stupid, book movies from years ago. But
Yeah.
now, don't worry, I can upload all this in one video now.
Twilight Breaking Wind part. Who gives a crap?
Yeah. Or Twilight Breaking Down.
Yeah, Breaking Down.
Well, then again, was it ever up to begin with?
It was not. It,
Yeah.
it was only up to the standards of very thirsty prepubescent girls,
By the
and
way, we
maybe a
should.
little beyond. But
By the way, on a side note, we should probably do a commentary track on that to rip into it.
we should destroy it. Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
We will be Thanos on that movie. Just you know, it's done.
Man, it kind of reminds me of my joke, like from last time. It's like, man, if only he could make the Fast and Furious franchise disappear.
We would be in much better shape with those two franchises completely gone from memory.
Yeah. Another thing I want gone from memory is half the trailers we've watched before seeing this movie.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, some of
Horrific.
I don't think I can think of any time in recent years that I've seen so many trailers to movies that just looked so like bottom of the bargain bin dollar, DVD bin at Walmart
If
quality.
that, yeah, like boy, when you're saving, for your big last preview, something like Tag. I don't think that was literally the last, but it was one of the last.
Yeah, that and the puppet one and the like the
Yeah, the Melissa McCarthy puppet one.
and the like next Purge movie. It's like, I swear, did we just teleport back to the late 2000s during the writer's strike era or something?
Apparently, because this is just beyond horrifically bad. So
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry about that
yeah.
audio part, that ripple thing. We should try to talk about the movie now. Okay.
Well, Deadpool is cynical, so I guess it fits in the theme.
Yeah. Okay. So, Deadpool 2 is about continuing the adventures of Deadpool, played by Ryan Reynolds, when he's trying to basically go around and do various like, assassin work for hire stuff. But then, I guess, during his time, he's trying to help a kid named Russell, played by Julian Denson?
Hmm.
Okay. And meanwhile, while he's trying to do this, there is a man from the future known as Cable, played by Josh Brolin, and also Thanos, by the way. And basically, he is trying to go after Russell because of what he might become in the future. Now, the movie, of course, also stars not just characters that we've seen from the past in other X-Men movies, but also we get new characters, mainly that of Task Force X. So, what did you think of Deadpool 2, Steven?
Tyler, I really liked this film. I was expecting it overall to be a bit of a step down from the first one because frequently that is the case with films. I'm not someone who falls for what I would call the virgin viewer experience, which is, the first of something is automatically the best. But I was very pleasantly surprised at how good this was. It brought a lot of the same humor. It brought some new elements to the story that I'm sure we'll get into details about with some of the characters. And talking about X-Force, that whole spiel was, I guess, overall fairly short, but it was sweet and funny at the same time. And Peter is one of the best confirmed MCU heroes. Let me just say. But
Yeah.
yeah, I enjoyed it, and I'm sure we'll break down into more details. But what did you think of it?
I mean, ways it definitely exceeded expectations. In other ways, it kind of disappointed, but we'll get into that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, the movie itself, I noticed that it was kind of a bit iffy with pacing at times because it
Sure.
looked like it was going in a certain direction and then it started to go in a different direction and then it kind of went back on route, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
in a way. But yeah, I mean, this movie definitely was no shortage of hilarious moments, I gotta say. Like, we'll try to avoid spoilers as much as possible, and we'll probably have a segment on that. But I gotta say, the first scene of the movie with Logan
That was funny.
was amazing. That was hilarious. Like, I wonder, like who was the person responsible for like building that contraption?
It, seriously, that was a uh, great contraption that they built there, and the fact that it played music and stuff too on top of it just added more. But
Yeah, I mean, I
um,
like the opening sequence, like the title cards. I mean, in a way, it's kind of similar to the opening title cards, at least like the text of saying funny stuff. But this one was very much like a James Bond movie
oh yeah,
for opening credits,
that's what
which
they
I
were
thought was
going
kind of
for.
funny. Which I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting.
Mhm.
Which, by the way, this movie is not directed by who directed the first Deadpool movie? Was it
Oh gosh,
Tim something?
let me
I
see.
can't remember his last name, but the reason why he didn't direct this movie was because he's actually trying to get the next Terminator movie to happen.
I see.
And this time we got David Leitch, the guy who directed the first John Wick movie.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I gotta say that he's definitely come a long way for being a stuntman in Van Helsing.
Yeah, that is very true.
Which, by the way, yeah, I looked up on IMDb. I mean, he's been in a lot of stunts, of course, in movies from the past, being a stuntman. But yeah, of course, it makes sense that he would also know how to do good fight choreography.
Absolutely.
I mean, that really did show in the first John Wick movie, I would have to say. Tim Miller, okay, I kind of knew it.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, Tim Miller was the director of the first one, and now he's directing, or trying to get off the ground, the next Terminator movie. At least try to make it better than Rise of the Machines.
It needs some help. Yeah, Terminator. I know people joke about certain franchises, but that's one where it's like lots of people actually like it, and it could seriously use some help. It's not as unsavable as something as bad as Fast and the Furious, but it is. I mean, it needs some work. So.
Yeah, or Disney live action remakes.
Mm.
Anyway, I felt like he did a pretty good job with a lot of the fight choreography in that. I mean,
He did, yeah.
it wasn't as impressive as John Wick was. I would have to say maybe because John Wick was like a smaller movie and it was a movie I wasn't expecting that much out of, I guess,
Mm.
in a way. But anyway, we should talk about the members of X-Force and that
Yeah, just talking about that real quick, I would also say that the CG in this one, there was a lot more CG scenes, and some of them came across a little cheesy. And of course, with Deadpool, some of that can be somewhat taken to be like, oh well, that this particular part may be supposed to look super, cringily computer generated.
yeah, like for comedic reasons.
Right, but other parts that didn't seem to, there were parts you could just feel in the scene with like Cable that we'll probably talk about, that it was like totally him cringily CG'd in there, and I'm just like, oh, that was probably just not a good, that's an example of bad CG in an otherwise good movie. So less of those problems in the first one for sure, but also this one was definitely a bit more ambitious with what it did. So
Of course, it made a lot more money. I mean, the first one had a really controlled budget, but the first one made over $800 million at the box office,
mm-hmm.
and of course, it also, of course, they had more money to work with this time around, because Fox is like, an R-rated movie that made a ton of money? Wow.
Yep.
And All right, so first, of course, we have Domino, played by Zazie Beetz.
Zazie Beetz, I think. Yep.
Okay, I mean, I did like her as Domino in that. I
did
mean,
too.
my question is, where's the blue? That's all. I mean, her acting was good in the movie. She was pretty likable in that. But also, I remember Domino also carried around, like, guns and, like a sniper rifle of sorts and that. And I felt like that was kind of missing. I mean, yeah, she did have, like, kind of the birthmark on the eye.
Some of that I'm sure they're going to change up in the future if we continue to get other iterations with the X-Force. But I liked her appearance. To me, it wasn't way too over the top. It worked for her. So interesting you say that.
Yeah, and there is other people of X-Force that aren't in the movie that long, such as Zeitgeist, played by Bill Skarsgård, Pennywise.
Mm-hmm.
We have Bedlam, played by Terry Crews. Old Spice, power.
True. Yep.
My very bad impression on the spot.
Yep.
Maybe I'm not in the moment at the moment. And of course we have Shatterstar, played by Louis Tan.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like it was kind of cool when he mentioned he was from the Mojo planet, because I remember from the X-Men 90s series, there was this character called Mojo that would capture people to have, like, fighting kind of gladiator type of scenarios in that.
I'd forgotten that.
But, like, oh, that's kind of cool in a way. But anyway, there's one member of X-Force who, known as Vanisher. I guess he's, like, invisible the whole time.
Except for, like, a split second.
Yeah, we see who he is, and I'm like, I instantly recognize who he is, but it's a surprise celebrity cameo. It's like an A-list actor. I'm not going to say who he is, but yeah, just thought it was kind of funny. But I think he might have also had a cameo in Thor Ragnarok, so that's all I'm going to say about it.
And we'll also say it's not Stan Lee, because that's a given in any Marvel movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only cameo he had was kind of like graffiti wall art, which is kind of funny.
It was one of those where he didn't really show up in person that time.
Yeah, still better than
a couple other things like shows.
Yeah, I mean, still better than his no-show cameo in that Fantastic Four reboot. People were joking like, that's Stan Lee just crying in the corner.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. I did like we didn't have him much in the movie, but yeah, it was kind of funny how, like, I mean, things were going south faster than the Avengers and Infinity War, I guess. That
is true.
Yeah, I mean, but also it was nice to see, familiar faces such as Wenzel, played by T.J. Miller, which, I mean, it makes sense why he wasn't in the movie that much, because then again, the guy was kind of arrested for making bomb threats, or what was that? Did you hear about that?
T.J. Miller?
Yeah, wasn't it in the news a few weeks ago?
I don't know about that. Are you confusing TJ with T.I.? Because T.I.
No. I am pretty sure it was T.J. Miller. I mean, it wasn't gun related. It was, he like made some called some bomb threats or whatever. Maybe it was like a prank, or maybe some weird way. Maybe he smoked some hash. I feel like this will be promoting the movie.
I got you. Yeah, no, I didn't hear about that. That's interesting.
Yeah, they probably covered up with something stupid like a dog yawning. Whatever kind of clickbaity stuff they have on here. But yeah, I mean, I had no idea Alan Tudyk had a cameo as one of the rednecks.
Yeah, that was interesting. And also really liked talking about this Black Tom, the white guy, who they were making...
Black Tom Cassidy.
Yeah. For people who are super against anything SJW, there are a couple jokes in here that are pretty SJW pandering. I
agree.
I didn't count, but it was probably a total of 4 times or something. It wasn't absurd, but...
Yeah, there was some cringy stuff, which I'll get into, and what I didn't like about the movie, and maybe kind of spoiler stuff later.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, what was funny is that with the character of Russell in the movie, when he was trying to be befriended by Deadpool and that, I was just thinking to myself, I'm just waiting for him to make that Family Guy joke about, El Diabito.
Yeah.
The maid's, son or whatever.
Cookie Diabito, no.
I'm like... Yeah, I was just like wondering, I was prepared for it, but they didn't do it.
Right.
So like, oh, okay. I mean, I'm not upset at all. Just saying like, oh, okay. I'm saying like that would have been so easy
Yeah.
to do in that.
No, there were plenty of funny moments in this though, and Tyler was saying like the one of you're so dark. You sure you're not from the DC universe?
Yeah,
That probably should have been saved.
Yeah, in a few weeks. Yeah, and then like a few minutes before that, he said, "Who are you? I'm Batman."
Yeah. There were so many of those that were good, and another one that was like, I was doing such and such. But we found out both our names are Martha.
Our mother's names are Martha.
Yeah, that was so funny.
Yeah, I just love. Well, yeah, that was the beginning of the film.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I just love the whole like. Can't remember what joke it was now. Oh yeah, the part where he actually calls Cable Thanos.
He does. Yep. Listen here, Thanos.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how he's played Thanos and also Cable. I gotta say, either of those two are better than when he played Jonah Hex.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone talks about Green Lantern, but I gotta say that was worse. That felt like a boring, even dumber down version, if that's even possible, of that Wild Wild West movie with Will Smith.
Oh, wow.
Which, yeah, Megan Fox was in it, but she was only for like 15 minutes, even though she's second billed. Just weird.
Jeez. Yeah, I haven't seen that, but I'm in no rush to, based on what I've heard. So.
Well, I just said Megan Fox in it, so we'll probably start watching it tonight.
The important parts, we'll see. Scantily clad moments.
Yeah, Steve will upload the scantily clad cut of Jonah Hex on his channel.
Megan Boobay Fox.
Steve's gonna make a new channel called "What Does the Fox Say?"
What does the fox say? I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you.
He'll have to like kind of dust it off because he's got all the Gal Gadot stuff up right now.
Yeah, gotta shift it or put it in the file titled "Hard Drive Winky Face."
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's some characters that do come back, such as
Colossus.
Sorry, Colossus. I can't
Sonic
believe
Mega
I
Teenage
forgot.
Warhead.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot to pronounce that name.
Yeah.
I played him so many times in the X-Men arcade game, if anyone remembers that.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, "Oh!"
Yep.
I just love that. But yeah, I mean, it's nice to see Mega Teenage Warhead drop the skinhead look.
Yeah.
And actually looking, actually presentable.
And she's got I guess it's a small spoiler, but she's got a girlfriend named Yukio, and first time I heard it, I'm like, Yu-Gi-Oh, what?
Yeah.
What?
Steven's like, "You had me at Yu-Gi-Oh."
Yes, you had me, nut. Just like. But no, that was funny though. Not a huge revelation, just an interesting point that for me was like.
I thought what was bigger and a lot more interesting and just everything was better about was the X-Men cameo.
Yes, that was fantastic. They beat the horse again about gosh, this mansion is always abandoned. It always seems to just be you guys. And then they pan over and show like
the X-Men
from the last 3 films.
Actually, it's the new one coming out, Apocalypse. It takes place in the 90s because Quicksilver's wearing a Nirvana shirt.
Right. and they just closed the doors on him. It was so great.
Yeah. They're thinking to themselves, well, Fox is probably reboot us because the mouse said so.
Right. Get out there and make me some goddamn money.
Yeah, we tell us the Jonas Brothers.
Right.
But at least they kind of made Breaking Benjamin happen, which is awesome.
The Jonas Brothers?
No, Breaking Benjamin! Because they have a contract with Hollywood Records, which is owned by Disney.
I see. I'm just like,
so
Tyler, you're crediting
no
the Jonas Brothers.
I said Breaking Benjamin on the complete.
Right.
opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
They're pretty much like the top of the mountain, and Jonas Brothers are in like the one of the lower circles of hell.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say when it comes to quality.
Confirmed, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think right now we should take this moment to talk about spoilers and that.
Sure.
Okay. Now, the movie itself does have a kind of an action sequence where at the end, the climax of the movie, where it's like, well, it kind of in ways reminded me of the first Deadpool movie in certain ways. Like, for example, like Colossus fight another big tough person, and then like other stuff is happening with Deadpool's character, and then another character who's like female and that. But I gotta say, the one character that was kind of like spoiled by certain fan theories online. And at one point, some people are pointing out that the one, like, you know, character of Peter might have secretly have been, but it wasn't him. Was that of the Juggernaut? I was like surprised. I was like looking forward to the Juggernaut showing up. And I was mildly disappointed that he didn't say, like, you know, I'm the Juggernaut, you know, from the My Way Entertainment parody dub. If anybody remembers that. I mean, they referenced that in The Last Stand.
Right.
And that, at least they mentioned that, you know, my brother, or actually stepbrother, can read minds.
He said brother, but yeah, stepbrother is...
At least they got that part right. But maybe well, I don't know, maybe they kind of dropped the ball again, you know, make him a mutant when he wasn't that. His powers are magical, and he hates mutants. That's just a side step, but yeah, I do feel like the CG on him at times was kind of obvious.
Bad, yeah, I agree.
It kind of reminded me of a little bit of Jack the Giant Slayer a little bit.
Oh gosh, I haven't even seen that, but
you're not missing anything.
I bet, yeah, that's not the best, but
you're missing like an army of Scorpion King monsters from The Mummy Returns. Is what it really reminded me of.
Yeah, there were, I guess, along with the story, the whole X-Force thing, now that we're talking about it, kind of, with them all being introduced and, like, literally 2 people surviving. That was a little anticlimactic, but at the same time, it was funny, because it still made the scene, with the whole little detail of, well, it's going to be windy today, you know, high wind index. Super relevant.
I know. I did like the part where they're diving. We see like the X-Force in a way. And I mean, yeah, everything just went completely bad. I mean, some people, you know, might complain about like, oh, they were barely in the movie and that, which I can kind of see why. I kind of agree, but also kind of disagree in that. But the part where they're in that kind of detention prison building center, I'm like, is this a set from Escape Plan? Because it really did look like they just recycled the set from that movie, which I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. But
it still worked for me. Like, there have been several scenes in movies like that recently that, you know, it seems like a big roster is introduced and they quickly just get their asses handed to them. But being deaf, you know, not that something that they can come back from. And I agree, but I mean, to me, like in several of the cases, and especially in this one, it still worked for the scene and kind of made it funny. So I'm not going to give it too much of a damper on that. What did you think of Cable, though, while we're on that?
I mean, we're in the spoiler section that, but I did like him in the movie and that. I felt like it was kind of interesting, but I thought last time I checked, at least in the 90s animated series, that his son was a boy and also named Tyler as well, but I guess they changed it to a girl and had different names, so I don't know, maybe in a certain version of the comics he has a daughter instead, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Maybe it's different, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like problems with this movie that I had. Well, I think the main issues were kind of the whole, like, the kind of sidestepping, like, SJW kind of pandering, like, oh, hate breaks, Fox and Friends and that.
Oh, I love that. I know you don't because you watch Fox, but I thoroughly enjoy
from
that.
Time to time, you know, not really, just see, like, different, like, highlight stuff. But I'm like, oh, I felt like it was kind of like, typical stuff. Like, obviously, you know, Twitter would be the bigger one anyway. But also I noticed within that scene where they're going through, like, the mansion, of course we see a portrait of Karl Marx. in that, and I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing here, you know.
There were a bunch of people and like philosophers though on the walls.
Well,
So
mostly
that was prominent in one scene. I'll give you that. But.
Well, like American president stuff, like I can understand that, but why was Karl Marx in the Xavier Mansion? It just doesn't make any sense.
They were probably going for like because Xavier's an intellectual, here are all these intellectuals and philosophers and pretentious things, and that then Deadpool using his cart or Xavier's
wheelchair
to just knock a bunch of that stuff over was pretty great.
Which, by the way, one of the rare good uses of the GoPro cam.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think Xavier would want to follow the intellectual teachings of a guy whose thoughts led to the deaths of hundreds of millions of people. But anyway, I also man, what else was it?
There was some cringy like the fact that race and gender got brought up several times, like gender neutral terminology. It was like, okay, it's funny if you joke about it once and don't like dwell on it super seriously, but the gender thing, and I think the joking about the black thing, it worked towards the end, talking about like this obviously not racism, but just because there was a black Tom.
Yeah, his name was Black Tom Cassidy, but,
right, but
the guy was white.
Then they turn it into this, racial thing. It totally didn't work, but it worked at the same time,
I mean, it was funny. I got it. He was kind of being sarcastic.
Mm-hmm. But some of the other examples were just kind of beaten to death, and that was a little cringe. And there were a couple, I mean, comedic moments. I felt like every one of them in the first Deadpool hit. But in this one, there were a couple that, like, the whole theater was kind of just like, oh, we were supposed to laugh at that? and so, I don't know. That may have just been some of the writing, but...
Please clap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, there were some ambitious things that I got to give it credit for, and, I mean, some of the story elements and stuff that they were taking it, basically combining Cable with the X-Force and a bunch of other factors. I thought they did that relatively well. I'm not necessarily buying the whole Deadpool redemption thing. I won't go into spoilers for that because we may be past that part, but of the spoiler part. But
I thought might be. I don't know if we're still in it.
Yeah, but basically
we'll wrap it up. Spoiler stuff.
I mean, it's not, to me, how he acted in the first and how he acted in this one, it was purely for narrative purposes, and part of me is like, Deadpool would never do this. Deadpool is not this person. I'm sorry, but...
yeah, I guess the way they're writing it, but speaking of the thing, I feel like it's been, like, done to death as a whole, like, the villain of the movie seems to be, like, I don't know, that one kind of, like, oh, Christian bigot, kind of thing, like, such... How many times have we used this one? I wonder if, like, on IMDb, they have a list of all the times in movies.
Christian bigots.
Yeah, like, the old cliched stereotype of it. Like, okay, I see what you did there. That's why the Marx painting was there earlier, foreshadowing.
Like Bill Burr was saying that, hey, get out of the pool! Like, in movie trailers, the one super racist guy.
Get out of the pool!
But, yeah, no, I got you. To me, it worked, at least for the emphasis. And, I mean, it's clear that tied in with the whole X-Force and X-Men angle, they even joked about it being basically a outdated 60s metaphor for racism. It is the case of X-Men, so that is probably some more additional commentary on old bigots of the time. But
I guess, well, I mean, it's still more intelligent than those stupid Purge movies.
Yeah, no, I'll give you that for sure. The Purge is it is trying so hard to come across like it's this intellectual thing in the trailers, but it's not. It is just obvious pandering for gore porn people, So
yeah, and other snowflakes people on Twitter. Anyway, so we're done with spoilers right now, and I think a big chunk of this video is kind of spoiler stuff, but there's so many funny things in this movie we're not really going to mention here because
Yeah.
I gotta say
You gotta appreciate it yourself.
yeah, I mean the mid-credit scene alone is hilarious.
It is.
Not a post-credit scene, a mid-credit scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, what would you give this movie, Steven?
Well, I definitely like this film. We've kind of gone into details about some of the CG wasn't the best, but a lot of the stuff they did was ambitious and overall worked. I would say probably about 80% of what they tried worked, and maybe 20% didn't. Maybe a little more, but relatively speaking, it worked for me, and it was decent. There was some cutting issues. Talking about pacing earlier that bugged you, and I agree. I felt like the introduction of who we saw was going to be in this film, Cable, at some point, kind of just felt like, well, that was random, like a cut and weird, and didn't feel natural. And there were several points in the film that felt like that. But all that being said, I think it worked. It wasn't quite as cohesive as the prior one, but it was very much in a similar vein, and was a close match in most regards to the first one, with a few exceptions. So, with that being said, I feel like Deadpool 2 probably deserves a grade of something in the ballpark of an 83 to an 85%.
Okay. I mean, personally, in ways that I do prefer things in this movie more than the first one, but strangely, I also preferred more things in the first one than this one. I mean, yeah, they definitely upped it with the action. There's a lot of good action and a lot of hilarious jokes, of course, which is expected. And I mean, yeah, there's interesting character development. I did like how they tried to develop these characters even further in that with these other ones. I felt like the acting was pretty good. Some of the casting, I mean, you kind of go back and forth on, of course, but I did like this one. It was pretty good. I mean, I thought it was kind of interesting. I forgot to mention how one of the other villains in the movie, the headmaster, I felt like he looked, I thought someone was going to jokingly call him Discount Phil Collins, because he does look kind of Phil Collins-y.
He does.
Yeah. Yeah, and how his assistant was like the actor who played the Gill guy in The Shape of Water.
Gilbert, I always call him, yeah.
Yeah, talk about another cultural Marxist crap to mention. But yeah, I mean, in certain ways, I did feel like there were some definitely cringy moments. 2/3 of it being in the Xavier Mansion, 1/3 of it kind of the last few minutes of the movie, I would say. But overall, I would say this is a funny movie, good time in that. I don't know, maybe there'll be there's like a defeminized version of the Last Jedi. Maybe it'll be a defund Marxist version of this movie. I don't know. Maybe it'll be like 5 minutes shorter, or whatever. But it won't really affect the movie mostly. So overall, I would give Deadpool 2 about 2. Wait, no, not 2 stars. No, not that one. I said 2. I was thinking that. Sorry, it's a kind of a fake out, so I'll just rewind back. So I would give Deadpool 2 about 3 stars out of 4.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think that Infinity War was definitely better.
I agree.
In some ways, I actually kind of liked Ready Player One a bit more. I do think
I wouldn't go that far.
Did you see that one?
I did end up seeing it.
Oh, okay. I mean, I like that one. I saw it with Luke in that. I mean, this is above A Quiet Place, and that was also a good one as well. But yeah, I mean, again, we agree and disagree on stuff. But then again, that gives us our whole thing of our, interesting review and dynamic. I mean, it'd be kind of stupid if we all just agreed and disagreed on every single movie.
Yeah.
And
like Rotten Tomatoes, that is the church that dictates what you should and shouldn't see on everything.
Or just dumb, talk shows where a bunch of people talk and pander in that.
Absolutely.
Like, The View. Yeah.
But
yeah, a multiple-headed monster right there.
the Cerberus of mediocrity.
Yeah, rather be facing King Ghidorah, however it's pronounced.
Right.
Because I made this video a while back from like top 10 Godzilla moments, and I swear not a month goes by where someone says, it's King, so-and-so, not so. Like, I'm sorry I didn't use the correct... I'm sorry I didn't use the correct pronoun. that-
The credit. I got you.
I'm tempted to just type up, because some movies he's called King Ghidorah, and sometimes it's called King Ghidorah. I don't know, maybe it was because of the bad dubbing from the English translation versions of the movies and that. So yeah, this is Tyler from Credit Reviews.
And Steven from Steven Lawson Studios.
And we hope you enjoyed this episode of After the Credits on Credit Reviews, and we hope to make a lot more in the future. Please like and subscribe.